So Dr. Harsha, there was some polling released recently from the Institute of Health Policy, and they've been doing this rolling poll for a couple of years now. And what we've consistently seen is that there's been a rush to the NPP JVP, that's National People's Power, and the JVP. The UNP has been relatively stagnant. But the most recent polling that came out, the SJB seems to have lost a little bit. So the SJB was around 30% as at May, but as at September it's down to 22%, so that's quite a big drop, so 8%. The UNP has marginally increased their share from 10% to 13%, and the NPP, the JVP NPP, is up by 12%. So I wonder if you have any, what is your idea about this? So is there some need for the SJB to reposition, or is there any new messaging? And I wonder specifically what you thought regarding this populism versus being a moderate. In some ways it's quite attractive to be populist. You can get up on stage and say a lot of things and get a lot of claps. On the other side, if you speak in a responsible tone, if you try to pretend if you try to act like a responsible custodian, it's not as attractive. So how does SJB play this game between retail politics and being a responsible custodian of the economy?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I have a two-part answer to this question. You see, it was in '94, I think, the first opinion poll was ever done in this country on political opinion poll. And we were involved in that. It was just as we've come back from the US. And it was done, I think, for a group that was led by Mr. Charita Ratwat at the time. And a company called Mitosky International was involved. Mitosky himself was a well-known pollster working for NBC Studios, or NBC at the time. And that was the first proper poll. Ever since, polls have been conducted in Sri Lanka on elections. In most cases, they have been privately consumed for obvious reasons. Both the Porto camp, or rather the SLFP or the PA, whatever, that camp and this camp have both done polls. If I remember correctly, this institution, Vijay Newspapers, published, I think the only poll after that, in the '94 Mitosky poll, would have been around '99 or 2000. Perhaps you can go through the library here and speak to them and go into their archives and pull it up. And if I remember right, they said we had the numbers prior to the election, but we didn't want to sway the voters in. I don't know whether it is even legal in this country to publish this. There's some weird law, where you can't have exit polls published and things like that, right? So they published it after the elections. Okay. What they had received prior to the elections, and if I remember correctly, so I'm talking perhaps this would have been 20 years ago, maybe around that time, and they compared, look what happened. So there are people, companies who have done this polling, and Nielsen has been the pioneer in this. So there is a history of political opinion polling going back, like I said, close to 30 years, and I have never seen a poll, Kusum, and I've seen many polls, and I must tell you, they have been on the dot accurate, right, over the last so many years. And it's continuously improved, the numbers, the predictability. I have never seen a poll that perhaps even as short as 4 weeks prior to the election, that the undecided number falls below about 30%, 30%.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
Now this particular poll that you are referring to has no undecideds.
Right.
And this is 12 months before the election. And election hasn't even been announced. So I have a problem in figuring this out, right? Because, it is an art more than even a science.
Yes.
And you have to have a lot of knowledge to be able to determine how to allocate the undecideds. So a poll that has no undecided number 12 months before an unannounced poll is problematic for me. So therefore, and that's one. The other thing is the sampling right? In this particular one, 500 or something, I think, and part of it is an already established panel, and the other part of it is, I think, telephone interviews. Now, sampling is critical in a poll like this. There are some 14,000 Grama Seva Niladhari divisions, right? Now, let's say you take 24 electoral districts. 24. You have urban, rural into 2. 24 into 2 is 50. Let's say 25. The calculations is 50. Male, female, 100 into 200. Then say
education level.
No, 3 political parties. Let's say,
okay.
right, 300. Right. So how can you run with a number of, I don't know, 250 or something like that?
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, you select one guy, let's say, and when you do a telephone poll, you can't really establish location.
Correct. Okay.
Right. So who is this person you're speaking to? So these are 2 issues that I have with the poll, right? Technical issues, which I'm not saying the poll is right or wrong. All what I'm saying is the things that I know, having been associated with polling in this country for the last perhaps 30 years or so. I don't know if anyone else. I know the people who've been associated with us,
Right.
who would have the same sort of knowledge on polling. So therefore, so that's a concern about a poll. Forget that. SJB must be able to appeal to the undecided.
What's the best way for you to?
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying, right? So this poll doesn't have undecided, so I don't know,
Right.
right? But what I'm saying is that, in my view, there's a large undecided number now.
Yes.
I would think the undecided is still around 40%, right? So because at this point, what can you do?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all decided.
What portion of the 6.9 million do you think the SJB can attract? The
I mean,
6.9 million.
you see, the 6.9, a lot of the 6.9, either went to the JVP or are undecided.
Correct. Yeah.
Or some would have come to the SJB, some would have gone to the RW camp and to the SLFP. But now, who is the SLPP candidate? Right? So are the total 6.9 million going to not vote for an SLPP candidate?
And there's every chance some part of the 6.9 could have been a Yapalya vote also.
So 6.9 could have been a part of Yapalya also, of course, right? So the question that you asked is relevant because how much of populism, how much of responsible, sort of what is the word that you use?
The responsible custodian of the government, the economy.
That's right, responsible custodian, right? So that's where the challenge lies, right? I mean, I am being criticized by many people because of the view that I hold in terms of the economic reforms that we need to do. I agree with a lot of the reforms that are happening now, and in my view, lot more reforms will have to happen. Right? Otherwise, there is no coming out of this hole.
We'll just be back here in a couple of years.
Back here in a couple of years, Kusum. Right? There is no way out. Right? We are so deep in the mess. Right? We need to talk about efficiency. We need to talk about productivity. Right? We need to talk about unshackling the economy. We need to talk about these things that politicians don't talk about. Right? So that is the responsible message the custodian message for the next generation and the one thereafter, right? But people are suffering at the moment. Right? They are not able to make ends meet. So what are you talking about reform generation down the road when you can't find half a loaf of bread and a
Vision 40 is not going to be helpful to that person.
What are you talking about? So this has a fine balance, and I think SJB is the only party that can bring that solution to the people, right? I mean, we have a good team, right, led by Mr. Premadasa, who's really able to understand the pulse of the middle class, the pulse of the hardworking people in the village. I am not saying I do that. I can't.
Yeah.
Not that I can't. I have a certain sense, but our leader has a much bigger, much broader sense of that, right? Which is critically important, right? But we also have in our team Kabir, Eran, myself, others who have a really precise game plan for this country. Right? Our blueprint is very clear, right? And I'm working on version 3.0, right? Version 3.0 will have a much more refined and a broader sort of set of policies that our government will adopt, right? Because it's down the road, right? So the SJB will have to put both these realities in front of the people. Reality 1, today and tomorrow, right? Reality 2, tomorrow and the day after, right? So I mean, I have always been, and I will continue to be, a responsible politician, right? I have never dished out bath packet or araku bottle to win. Right? I have gone to political meetings and said there's nothing you're going to get. Only thing you're going to get is to listen to me for half an hour, and I'm going to dish out some ideas. And if you like them, you vote for me. If not, that's fine. Right? And I don't need to be in politics, Kusum.
Yeah.
I have a life. I have a great family. I have investments. I can live.
You could be in retirement.
I can be in retirement. I go to the estate, put my feet up, drink beer and enjoy the scenery. I have a bunch of great friends. And I'm fine. I can do many things in life which is going to be economically far better off for me. But I'm in it because I want to change this country, and I will. Right? And it is a medium-term plan, right? We can't change it overnight, right? So therefore, I am not going to tell lies to people saying we can change it in a year. We can't, right? Let us not bullshit, right? Saying I can do it in 5 years or 10 years, right? Because and tell people, get people on the same page. If people are on the same page, they will appreciate what you're saying, right? I want to be that politician, right? And so with Mr. Premadasa, with our team, right, with our ideology, I think we can build a broader coalition, right? That would agree with our thinking, right? And that thinking will certainly have a reform agenda. We can't lie to the people. But reform can be done if we are also able to look after the people. So we have what is called a social market economy plan. In very simple terms, it's a synthesis of economic liberalism and political liberalism. What I mean by that is, in economic liberalism, you're talking about individual freedoms, the ability to do what you want, right? And political freedom, what I mean is equity and social justice, right? So that is a comparative, a highly comparative social market economy that is connected to the world, right? As the hub of the Indian Ocean, right? We can do wonders in this country.
Dr. Harsha, so thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you for being on Insight.
Thanks.